Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter.
Oh, this will be interesting.
Yeah, our listeners shared this one, really interested in how to reprogram their brain for success.
That makes sense.
It all starts with self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever, stopped to think about how much we talk to ourselves? Like, every single day.
It's wild, isn't it? Like, we get all these messages from the outside world, but it's the ones we tell ourselves that are the most constant, I think.
Totally. And
They really have the biggest impact.
Helmstetter, he compares the brain to a computer.
Okay.
All the programming we get, our whole lives, shapes everything. Beliefs, attitudes, our actions.
Yeah, like we're running on software, but we didn't even choose to install it.
Exactly.
And, like with a computer, faulty programming equals flawed output.
Right.
Think about it. If you're always feeding yourself negative messages, it's no wonder if you're struggling with self-doubt,
It's true. It's like you're setting yourself up to fail almost. So Helmstetter, he lays out this thing he calls the self-talk sequence.
Okay.
It goes programming, then beliefs, attitudes, feelings, actions, and finally, results.
Interesting.
And what's so cool is that he doesn't just say, think positive.
Yeah,
He
right.
goes deeper.
Yeah.
Like he shows that our feelings, they're actually a result of our attitudes, which come from our beliefs.
It makes you realize that if you want to change how you feel, you have to address those beliefs underneath.
Exactly. It all starts way back at the beginning with those messages we take in.
Like a chain reaction.
Totally. And so Helmstetter, he doesn't just say think positive. He gives us this framework for understanding how our thoughts create our reality.
Okay.
He even identifies 5 levels of self-talk.
Wow.
They go from negative acceptance, where we basically just resign ourselves to our limitations,
All right, I'm there.
to universal affirmation, where we're declaring truths with total conviction.
I like the sound of that level better.
Right.
There's a whole
It
spectrum.
is a, think about it. You face a challenge and you immediately think, I can't do this.
Yeah, guilty.
That's negative acceptance right there.
Makes sense.
But what if instead you said, I am capable of finding a solution?
Okay, yeah, I see the difference.
Even if it feels weird at first,
It might.
it can make a huge difference.
That shift in self-talk, yeah, it can completely change how you approach the challenge.
It's like upgrading your mental software,
I like that analogy.
from a limited version to something way more powerful.
Definitely.
It reminds me of that story Helmstetter tells about the woman who couldn't even dial the phone for a job interview.
Oh, yeah, her self-talk was so bad.
It was overwhelming.
It was, but she started using simple affirmations.
Like what?
I am worthy, I am capable, that sort of thing.
Simple stuff.
It was, but those small shifts in her self-talk allowed her to finally take action.
And she got the job, right?
She did. It's amazing.
Like proof that we can reprogram our minds for success one affirmation at a time.
It gives you hope, doesn't it?
It really does. It's like swapping out those old rusty gears in our minds with shiny, well-oiled ones.
I loved that.
But Helmstetter argues that just slapping on a positive affirmation, that's not enough.
What do you mean?
We have to actually replace that old negative programming.
Okay, yeah, it's not just adding the good stuff.
It's getting rid of the bad stuff, those deeply rooted negative beliefs holding us back.
It's like you can't just build a new house on top of a crumbling foundation, right?
Exactly. You have to clear out the old to make room for the new.
It's true.
And he uses this great analogy of replacing old furniture.
Okay, I'm listening.
Imagine you clear out a room full of worn-out furniture,
Okay, yeah.
but you don't put anything new in its place.
What happens?
You'll probably end up going back to those familiar pieces.
Because they're comfortable even though they're not serving you.
Exactly. We're creatures of habit, even when those habits are holding us back.
Oh, that's so true.
So the question is, how do we break free from this cycle of negative programming?
Right, how do we actually change those ingrained patterns?
Well, Helmstetter emphasizes the difference between external and internal motivation.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
External motivators like pep talks, rewards, they can be helpful.
Yeah, they give you that initial boost.
But for real lasting change, we need to cultivate internal motivation.
That comes from within.
And that comes from consistent positive self-talk.
So it's about building that inner drive, that belief in yourself.
Exactly.
It's like you need to be pulled forward by something inside you, not just pushed from behind.
I love that analogy. It's about being self-motivated, not just externally motivated.
Precisely.
And so the question becomes, how do we develop this internal motivation? this unwavering belief in ourselves.
Right, because that's what it all comes down to, isn't it?
I think so. And Helmstetter, he provides some really compelling examples of how self-talk can be applied to all these different areas of life.
Like what?
Careers, relationships, problem solving, personal growth.
He gives specific examples for each area.
He does. It's not just like general principles.
That's really helpful.
It is. It's about taking those general ideas and making them practical, you know?
It makes them applicable to everyday life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then the question is, how do we actually put this into practice?
Right. It all sounds good in theory, but how do we make self-talk a tangible part of our lives?
It's a good question, and we'll dive into that next time with part 2 of our deep dive into what to say when you talk to yourself.
Looking forward to it. Okay, so where do we even begin with putting all of this into practice?
Right, like how do we actually make this self-talk thing a part of our lives?
Well, Helmstetter outlines a bunch of techniques,
Okay,
and one of the most basic ones is silent self-talk.
silent self-talk.
It's basically about becoming more aware of that constant stream of thoughts we have all day long.
That inner monologue.
Yeah, the one that's always running in the background.
So it's like tuning in to that voice and making a conscious effort to, I don't know, steer it in a more positive direction.
Exactly. It's about noticing those negative thoughts that pop up, the limiting ones.
And then choosing to replace them with something more empowering.
You got it.
Like if you catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough,
Mm-hmm.
you can pause and reframe it to, I am capable and worthy.
That's it. You're interrupting those negative patterns and inserting a more positive message.
And you can do this anytime, right?
The beauty of silent self-talk is that you can practice it anywhere.
It's like having a personal cheerleader in your pocket,
Uh-huh, I like that.
always ready to give you a boost.
Exactly. It's about creating that ongoing internal dialogue that supports you, strengthens your self-belief.
So that's silent self-talk.
Right.
Now, Helmstetter also talks about self-conversation, which he calls shower talk.
Ah, yes, shower talk.
And this is where things get a little more, well, vocal.
It does take things a step further.
I have to admit, when I first read about this, I thought, wait, I'm supposed to be talking to myself out loud.
I think a lot of people have that reaction.
But Helmstetter, he clarifies that it's best done in private.
Yeah, keep it in the shower, so to speak.
So it's more like a private pep talk.
Exactly. A way to start your day with a positive conversation with yourself.
I love that.
It's a time when you can be totally honest, completely uninhibited, no worries about what anyone else thinks.
It's like having a private pep rally in the shower before you face the day.
Uh-huh, exactly.
Setting the tone for the day with positive affirmations, words of encouragement.
You can even throw in a little humor if you want.
And this can be as simple or as elaborate as you like.
Absolutely. You can keep it short and sweet, just a few affirmations, or you can have a whole conversation covering everything, goals, aspirations, whatever's on your mind.
It's about tailoring it to what you need.
Exactly.
I could definitely see myself trying this out.
I encourage you to. You might be surprised how empowering it feels.
Starting the day with a positive conversation with yourself.
It can make a big difference.
Now, we've talked about silent self-talk and self-conversation, but Helmstetter, he also suggests using pre-recorded tapes with affirmations.
Ah, yes. Back in the day when cassette tapes were all the rage.
But now we have so many more options.
We do. Digital recordings, apps, all sorts of things.
So it's about finding what works for you.
Exactly. And creating recordings that are specifically for you, for your goals, your needs.
So you can record affirmations, inspiring quotes, even guided meditations.
Anything that reinforces positive self-talk.
I love the idea of having like a personalized self-improvement soundtrack.
You can listen to it throughout the day, immerse yourself in those positive messages.
It's like having a personal coach in your ear.
Whispering words of encouragement.
It's a really cool idea.
It is.
But Helmstetter's also realistic, you know. He knows that actually doing this, incorporating it into your life, takes effort.
Oh yeah, it's not a magic fix.
It's about making a conscious choice.
To practice self-talk consistently, be patient with the process.
He gives us a roadmap for making it a habit, right?
He does, and it starts with simply listening to your self-talk for 48 hours.
Just listen.
Pay attention to the patterns, the messages you're sending yourself.
Become aware of what's actually going on in your mind.
Exactly. Then, he says to identify the 10 most common negative phrases you use,
Okay.
and then come up with ways to reframe them
So taking those negative scripts and rewriting them.
with a more positive narrative.
I like that.
He also talks about something he calls media talk.
Media talk. What's that?
Think about all the messages we get bombarded with every day.
From advertising, social media, the news.
All of it.
And it all seeps into our subconscious.
It does. It influences our self-talk without us even realizing it.
So we need to be more aware of what we're letting into our minds.
Absolutely. Choose to focus on messages that support you, that help you grow.
Be more discerning about the information we consume.
Exactly.
And then finally, Helmstetter encourages us to write our own self-talk scripts,
That's a great one.
creating personalized affirmations and messages that resonate with us.
Taking ownership of your self-talk, crafting a narrative that empowers you.
I love that.
It's a powerful way to take control of your thoughts and shape your reality.
So we've covered the basics of how to put self-talk into practice.
We have.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about how Helmstetter applies these principles to specific areas of life.
Okay, sounds good.
He gives some really compelling examples of how self-talk can enhance your career, your relationships, help you overcome challenges, even be a better parent.
He really breaks it down.
He does. It's super practical advice.
So where do you want to start?
Let's start with careers. How does Helmstetter suggest using self-talk to achieve professional success?
Well, he says that our earning potential, it's often limited by our own beliefs.
Beliefs about our worth, our capabilities.
Exactly. If we want to earn more, we need to start by believing we deserve it.
So it's not just about working harder
It's about shifting your mindset,
to one of abundance and opportunity,
seeing yourself as worthy of success.
and then taking action from that place of self-belief.
Exactly. Believing you're capable of achieving your financial goals.
He also talks about the importance of self-talk in managing others, right?
He does. He says that instead of trying to change people's behavior from the outside, we should focus on helping them develop a more positive internal dialogue.
So encourage them to use self-talk to boost their own confidence and motivation.
Exactly. Create a culture of self-belief and empowerment in the workplace.
That's a really interesting approach.
It is.
Okay, let's move on to relationships. How can self-talk help us build stronger connections with the people we care about?
Well, Helmstetter, he emphasizes taking responsibility for our own emotions, our reactions in relationships.
So instead of blaming our partners for our unhappiness,
We can use self-talk to cultivate a more positive and compassionate inner dialogue,
becoming more self-aware, learning to manage our own emotional states.
which leads to healthier, more harmonious interactions,
It's about taking ownership of our part in the dynamic.
not projecting our negativity onto others.
And this applies to all kinds of relationships, right?
It does. Romantic partners, family, friends, colleagues.
It's about creating a more positive internal environment.
That then ripples outward into our interactions.
I like that.
Helmstetter also shares some incredible stories about overcoming challenges.
He does. People using self-talk to overcome fears, break bad habits, achieve goals that seemed impossible.
He really believes that self-talk can be a powerful tool for creating positive change.
No matter what you're facing.
It's about tapping into that inner strength, that resilience we all have.
So even when you're feeling lost or discouraged,
You can use self-talk to remind yourself of your strength, your ability to overcome obstacles.
choose to focus on what's possible, not get stuck in negativity and self-doubt,
Exactly. And then he also applies the principles of self-talk to parenting.
which I found so fascinating.
It is a really interesting application.
He believes that parents have such a huge impact on their kids' self-talk.
They do by modeling positive self-belief, encouraging their kids to use affirmations.
We can help them build a strong foundation for success and happiness.
It's about the words we use, the messages we send.
They absorb it all.
It shapes their own self-perceptions,
So we need to create a nurturing environment.
where they feel loved, supported, empowered to reach their full potential.
Give them the tools to build a positive and resilient inner dialogue.
That will serve them their whole lives.
This has been so insightful seeing how self-talk can be applied to every aspect of life.
It really is a game changer.
This deep dive has been packed with so much good stuff.
It has.
Is there anything else you want to highlight before we move on to the final part of our exploration?
Yeah, we've talked about all these practical techniques, but I'm also curious about some of the bigger ideas in the book.
Like what?
Helmstetter's emphasis on personal responsibility.
Oh yeah, that's a big one for him.
He sees it as, essential for creating any lasting change.
Yes, it's about owning your journey,
He says we can't expect others to breathe for us.
Haha, I love that analogy.
It's so powerful. It's like we can't rely on others to think our thoughts, feel our feelings.
Or make our choices for us. Exactly. We have to take responsibility for shaping our own reality.
We do. We may not be able to control everything that happens to us.
But we can control how we react.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we have agency, we have choices.
And that brings us to his idea of change by choice,
Right. He makes a distinction between change that's forced on us.
and change that we choose to create. He
Exactly.
acknowledges that we're constantly influenced by the world around us.
We are media, society, even our families.
But he says the most meaningful change comes from conscious choices.
About how we think, how we act.
It's about taking control, creating a reality that aligns with our values, our aspirations.
It's about becoming the architects of our own lives.
And that leads to another key insight, the power of awareness.
Paying attention to our thoughts, our feelings, our actions.
Helmstetter believes that self-awareness is like the first step to any positive change.
Without it, we're just on autopilot.
Reacting to life without thinking.
Just like driving a car without paying attention to the road, you might end up somewhere.
But it's probably not where you want it to go.
Exactly. Awareness lets us step back, observe ourselves, make conscious choices,
It's about becoming the observer of your own mind
noticing those negative patterns,
and choosing to interrupt them.
choosing a different path.
This all sounds so empowering, but I imagine it takes a lot of practice.
It does. It's not about instant perfection.
It's a journey.
It is a process of self-discovery and growth.
Being patient with yourself, celebrating small victories,
Knowing that setbacks are going to happen.
embracing the process.
Trusting that with effort, we can transform our self-talk and our lives.
It's inspiring, you know.
It is.
It gives you hope.
That we have the power to change.
This deep dive has been so insightful. Helmstetter's work really offers a roadmap,
For creating a more fulfilling life.
and the key is to start now.
Even small shifts in our self-talk can make a big difference.
Don't wait for the perfect moment.
Just take those small, consistent steps.
It's been amazing exploring all this with you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights.
My pleasure. I hope our listeners feel empowered to start applying these principles.
This deep dive has been packed with information.
It has.
We've gone deep into the core concepts of self-talk,
explored practical techniques.
even touched on some of the philosophical ideas.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. And remember, the power to change is within you, in your words, your thoughts.
You are the programmer of your own mind.
So choose your thoughts wisely
Cultivate that positive inner voice.
and watch your life transform.
Until next time, keep those positive affirmations flowing.
And remember, you have the power to create the life you desire.